Hello, everyone. My name is Robert Evans. I'm one of the creators of the PDA, or it's called the Personal Development App. And welcome to our Q&A recording or session with two of our experts in the PDA, two experts in the area of relationships. These two experts, Dr. Erica Goodstone and Robin McTagg, were two of our speakers on the personal development tour that we did this summer. And so we just got done playing their talks, their 15-minute talks that they did, one in Canada and one in Atlanta. Robin, you're in Vancouver, is that right? The Vancouver area?
That's right, yeah.
And Dr. Erica, you're in the Atlanta area, is that correct?
No, Florida.
Florida, but you've spoken Atlanta. Okay,
Yes.
So Florida, Atlanta, they're close, right?
Close enough.
So yeah, exactly. So thank you both for being here. Just a real quick mention, everybody, if you're watching this for the first time, if you're just learning about the PDA is the largest personal development content app on the iPhone and Android app stores. It is a free app that you can download, and everything in the app is totally free for you to experience. Everything from videos, hundreds of videos, hundreds of articles. There will ultimately be hundreds of experts in there from all over the world sharing their personal development messages in all areas of personal development topics. Tonight, it happens to be focused on relationships, and that's what we're going to explore with these two amazing experts here. But the PDA is a place that you can go to each day to access empowering, uplifting, powerful content to change and impact your life. So welcome to our Q&A session with these two incredible speakers. And let's just jump right in. I have some questions for you guys in regards to relationships. Something that is kind of the age-old, how do we figure this thing out in our lives? And it's good that we have experts like you here for us. So, let's start with you, Dr. Erica. Here's the thing, relationships, like with anything, in all areas of relationships, that we run into problems, challenges. I've never experienced that, of course, right? Right. And says the divorced man at 48 years old, but very happy divorced and very good there. But what do you consider the three causes of the relationship problems? Give me three that really stand out for you.
Well, most people would answer that question by saying communication or sex or money, but it really goes much deeper and before that. Those are like symptoms. But what I say are the three causes are, first of all, not really knowing yourself, or if you know yourself, not honoring yourself and asking for what you want and knowing what you need and expressing yourself freely. But that's the first part. The second part, even if you know yourself, is to really know the other person. Understand who they are and what they desire, what they dream about, what they long for, what their pain issues are. So if you really understand that, that really helps to understand those two things. And the third thing is understanding how the world works, how love works, and that there are universal laws, universal, that really act like laws, just like gravity, laws that affect the way we give and receive love, and they can block love. So not knowing yourself, not understanding the other person, and not knowing how the world works, and the fact that there are these things that you don't know about that are like natural laws to follow. And if you go against them, you can have problems.
Thank you, Dr. Erica. Speaking of challenges, in your talk, Robin, you had mentioned something along the lines of of boundaries, kind of boundaries, not being met or being crossed. Can you talk a little bit more about why that's one of the biggest challenges that relationships experience?
Certainly. And I think that we have an idea of what boundaries are, or we get confused when we wonder, what is a boundary? We can feel it in our bodies that something is not right. And so I like the simplest definition by Brene Brown, which is A boundary is something that is okay with me or not okay with me. And it really helps to simplify it and get back to the heart of the issue so that we know how we feel in relationship to the other person. So that twinge of anger or whatever that is coming up, that's a message for you to check in to see, is a boundary being crossed? Is that person not listening to me, not respecting me, something that's going on? And it's natural. We live in a world where boundaries are crossed every day. It's not something that we're taught. Our parents, our relationships in the workplace, in school, all of these places, we're not taught them. So it's really difficult to really understand what they are and how they work. And so for people, when they first get that idea that, yes, I can have a boundary, it's very freeing, but it's also a challenge to hold that boundary, especially with someone, especially with a partner or family. We're really close to them and they're used to having their way with us. And all of a sudden we're coming in and saying, stop, that's a boundary and I don't like that anymore. And they'll continue to push that boundary until you really show that you're serious about it. So at the beginning, we might be really extreme in holding that, and because it's new and it's okay to be really feel like it's different and new and really feel into it. So if I'm feeling a bit harsh about it, it's only because it's new and I'm learning. So we need to have that gentleness for ourselves, that we're learning in the process. And as it becomes more comfortable and we're able to speak up for ourselves, then we can simply be really clear and direct and not feel like we're having to push back and be really overly serious that we can't be ourselves, because it's something that we learn. And as we incorporate it, it gets easier and people respond to us better.
Thank you. Thank you. Erica, your talk, Dr. Erica, your talk is titled Healing Through Love. And powerful, a powerful title in of itself. But what do you think stops people from healing through, love relationships?
Well, I take some of the concepts from Buddhism, and one of the things that they talk about is suffering, that we can suffer over something because we think this should not happen to me. This person's yelling at me. I'm a sweet person. Why is this man or woman yelling at me, or cheating on me, or whatever has just happened, or my partner just passed away? But the attitude is, it should not happen to me, as if I'm better than other people. It happens to other people, but it shouldn't happen to me. And you can kind of ask, why not me? It happens to other people too. And then also, if you really understand the other person, you'll understand why they're responding like that. That they may scream at you because you said something that they felt was harsh. So anyway, it's suffering over the thought that this should not happen to me. Another thing is taking it personally. This person purposely did this to me because he wants to hurt me. Well, it may be that they would do that with anyone who reminded them of a certain circumstance, or anyone that they were getting close to. So not taking it personally is really important. And then expecting a certain behavior or an outcome. And this one I've been really guilty of. If this person loved me, they would, or they should do this or that, or say this or that. But if I really understand this person and the way they're thinking and what they're going through, and if I could see their love language, like you mentioned in your talk, and that if I could see what they really think and the ways that they're loving, I wouldn't be so disturbed if they do something not in the way I would have liked it to be or I expect it to be. And the last one is to not assume that that this person did this because. It's much more important to find out, have conversations, find out why they did or said something. What did it mean to that person? What did I do? That's another part, to look at what did I do or say that might have affected that person. And when you start healing some of those aspects, you're really ready to heal through love. You take responsibility, you look carefully at the other person, and you work toward loving them as they are.
Awesome. Thank you. That's very, very powerful. And not a lot of people approach that from the perspective that you've just shared there. Robin, in your talk, you talk about emotions. Can you kind of expand on that to tell us why that's why emotions are important in the context of relationships?
Yes, and it's a good follow-up to what Dr. Erica was saying, because that's usually what's underneath it. When we're raised in families that are anywhere from mildly dysfunctional to toxic and everything in between, there can be places where we're not acknowledged in our feelings. So we learn to stuff them down. And that can carry on for years. The example I like to give is the person in traffic and they're yelling at the person beside them and carrying on. And often this is displaced anger because it's something that happened at home or whenever it is. So this incident in traffic brings up all those past pieces of anger. So the feeling, it can be all sorts of different emotions, come out in kind of sideways ways and not when we expect them, and they can actually sabotage us, especially in relationships. So when we're not really honest with ourselves what we're feeling or don't understand what's going on, the first place to go is go inside and understand, what am I actually feeling? And for many, when we're first learning to do this and really being clear, it's actually taking some time out so we can be clear with who we are, so that we can be in relationship with someone else and come from a place where we know what we're feeling and then be open to hearing how the other person is feeling. Otherwise, we project a lot onto the other from that place of this displaced or disowned emotion that we're not expressing. So it'll come out in these really odd ways. And, when I talk to people about some of the stories, it's like, oh yeah, that's why that happened. And it's like, I was feeling this way, whatever it was. Maybe I was feeling defensive. Maybe I was feeling unsafe. Maybe I was just really feeling like I was really loving this person. We're going along the same way. And I found out they didn't. So it just made me feel like I don't know how to trust myself because I thought it was going this way. So there's all sorts of interesting ways that it can show up. But until we actually can get clear with how we're feeling and own that feeling, then we're not going to have true trusting and open relationships.
Robin, I got a follow-up question because I was thinking about some of the tools that you mentioned that you use in your working and that you mentioned in your talk. In your talk, you mentioned using the Enneagram. I think I'm saying that right. Am I saying
yes,
that right?
You are.
Okay. How do you use that in your relationship work?
Yes, the Enneagram has been around for like 4,000 years. So there's all sorts of interesting iterations of it. And a lot of people just use it on the psychological level. And I like to combine it with the spiritual. So it's a way of progressing through our type to understand our behaviors and learn to have some observation of what we're doing, to look at patterns and reactions. And when we can learn to come to that peace underneath it and understand what our holy need is into the world, and to understand our gifting and to understand why we're doing these things, it creates a whole new awareness and connection with ourselves. And it's just beautiful to see the transition for people and the transformation. For example, someone who is really outwardly energetic and maybe feeling like they're pushing into people, it's their way of understanding the world. And when they understand the vulnerability that's under that and they can actually feel it, they can relax and they can be more open, and people are more drawn to them, and they can have way better relationships at work and at home and all types of relationships. people really transform in bringing in clients and bringing in love interests and all sorts of things because they have a better understanding of themselves. And when they can have that compassion for how they are and start to see these other behaviors and ways of being in the world in others, there's a way of understanding them and not taking it personally, and also seeing how they can work with them in different ways. So, for example, someone who has a lot of fear, by just acknowledging that and not dismissing it, can make a huge difference in their relationship with them.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Great. That's awesome. What an amazing tool.
Mm-hmm.
Erica, going back to healing through love, where can people start that whole process?
Well, I've started to think about this a lot. And what
Erica, you there?
I think we lost her.
one of the problems,
Oh.
I'm here.
Yeah. Okay. We lost you right just as you were starting. So could you start over?
Okay. So people don't always take it seriously. They think that love is just natural, and they're really reacting to whatever they were brought up to believe and think, and whatever they've learned. So if you begin to take it seriously, it requires studying about it. First of all, you have to have an intention to love. If you're in a relationship and you're getting into a fight, and if you remember that you have an intention to love, that can change what goes on in that disagreement. And if you have that intention throughout the relationship, amazing things can happen. But it doesn't happen without understanding a lot of factors. You need to study and learn about what love is, what love isn't, what blocks it, what encourages it, enhances it, what confuses it. And you need to practice loving skills and seek counseling or coaching or read books or watch videos. There's so much information out there, but there's nothing like a one-on-one relationship. That's why therapy and counseling and coaching really help. And I have a very special 30-day love lesson series. I do it over 6 weeks now, and it's really powerful lessons about the Bible and love, and 12 steps in love, and the 12 pathways to unconditional love, based on spirituality, different cultures, and the wisdom of the ages. When you understand that the same principles have been out there for centuries, you stop resisting it and you start wanting to learn about it. And that's how you heal through love.
Wow. Super amazing. That's great. Thank you. I got a question for both of you. And this is a question I've been asking throughout these different sessions I've had with our experts in the app. And just kind of bring more tools into people's lives around, what's kind of going on in the world. And not anything specific, but I think most people can agree that we live in a world now where things are constantly challenging in a lot of different respects for people, or for communities, or for countries, or whatever. There's a lot. We live in a world that's connected, where information is instantaneously brought to millions of people, and people react to that. So there's a lot that happens in this connected world that we're in that creates anxiety and challenges and fears and that sort of thing. And I want the PDA to be a place that people can go to, one, get away from all of that and go into uplifting, positive, content and connections with experts. But I also want it to be a place where they can go and get the tools to deal with that in relationships. It's inevitable that one or the other or both will experience, fears and challenges or things that's going on just based off of what's coming at them. The whatever's going on in the world, a lot of times people absorb that into their own life. What is your recommendation, or what is the thing that you can offer people that are watching this to help their partner in moving through those tough times, those fears that might come up when they watch the news, or they read something on social media, and it starts to become a part of them, and maybe even starts to affect their relationship. What is it that you would recommend to people to help in their relationship with their partner to kind of transcend and move through that? Let's start with you, Dr. Erica, if that's okay.
Okay. Well, it's funny. I just had to share something when you were talking about this. Just today, I realized that I've been having this diet of CNN. Every time that I cook in the kitchen, I put on the TV and watch CNN. And this morning, I chose not to do that. And instead, I was reading a passage from the Naya Swamis that I had interviewed on my radio show. Jyoti and Devi, they won the Nobel Peace Prize for peace around the world. And I was reading their book, little excerpts. What a beautiful way to start my morning instead of listening to this agita. So I just called it the CNN diet. And I've decided to go off that diet. And so for couples, for people with their partner, it's a good idea to get them off that diet. And I just read something in a book that I'm reading, Essentialism, about this man did an experiment with his wife. They were in a restaurant, and they chose not to talk about anything, any of the details of life. They sat quietly, they were present with each other, and they were eating the food, and he noticed the breathing and enjoyed the taste of the food. So I think that mindfulness in the moment together to remind each other we don't have to get caught up in all these things that we can't do anything about anyway. So I would say mindfulness.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Maybe sit down with your partner and coming up with other things that you can do outside of being on, on the TV, on social media, on your phone, and that sort of thing. So that's great. Great suggestion.
At least find a time to do that. You watch it, but then maybe afterwards, so you don't end the night and start the morning with all this agita.
Oh yeah, great suggestion. Thank you, Dr. Erica. How about you, Robin?
Yes, and just in follow-up to that one, actually, there's a really good exercise where if you just simply sit and look into each other's eyes just for a couple of moments, it is such a powerful connection, because how often do we actually do that? And whether you're in partnership with a life partner, whoever it is, that connection is really strong. We actually see into our souls and to really who we are beyond this physical. So that's a really good way to get present. And then the other really important thing that I find is the more that we can self-reveal who we are and what we're feeling, the more the other person is going to be able to do that. And that's something we do with the Enneagram work, where we're in relationship, even though you may be client and I'm the coach, I'm still here in this relationship, and I'm going to tell you how I'm feeling and what my reaction is. And from a place of love and connection and knowing how you're touching me and what I would like to express, so that this leaves the space open for the other person to be more present and be able to express what's going on for them. When you do that, it might be that you find out what the actual fear is, and then you can say, okay, what can we do about that? And you work together, and then it's a partnership rather than one person being on their own and thinking about it, and it becoming more and more prevalent and more disconnected from the other.
Love it. Great ideas. That's I think that's what we need in not just in our own individual lives, but to be of support to our to who we're in relationship with. And that's, whether that's a love relationship or a family relationship or whatever. It's the more we can unplug from the matrix, the better off that we will be, in probably the healthier relationships and lives that we'll lead to. So thank you both for giving us those ideas.